On this episode of my so-called podcast, we'll be going back to the week of August 10th, 1990.
We're going to discuss the album Bellybutton by the band Jellyfish and the movie Metropolitan by the director Whit Stillman.
Like the past. The movie never changes. It can't change, but every time you see it, it seems different because you're different. You see different things.
Welcome to my podcast. I am Gary Linton.
And I'm Eric Spiegel. And Gary, do we have a guest?
We do have a guest, yes. Matt is returning champion Matt Siemer. And Matt, who else is with you?
Hi, everybody. Also with us tonight is Molly Jones.
Molly, how you doing? Thanks for coming to our podcast.
Oh my gosh, I've been trying to get on this thing for years.
We had to have Molly on because she's an expert on the band Jellyfish. Is that right, Matt?
Absolutely.
She likes early 90s San Francisco power pop more than anybody else you know. So here she is. Welcome to you, Molly. And Matt, thanks for being on.
Thank you for having us.
So this isn't just a podcast where we talk about, we welcome our guests. This is a podcast where we go back to a week in the 90s.
What kind of a podcast would it be where we just welcome our guests the whole time? It's just welcoming them.
Yeah.
Are you guys want some? Can I get you something to drink?
I feel welcome.
Snack? Okay.
Half coffee.
Can you please read this mat that I put out? This welcome mat for my friend Matt.
I would probably put. I have already sent some decaf coffee your way via Grubhub. It'll be there in 2 or 3 hours.
Thank you.
Awesome.
But yeah, well, that would be what it would be like. But I think we get tired of buying them stuff. So I'm glad that there is another part to the podcast. What was it you were saying we do?
Yes. So this podcast is not just that. It's a podcast where we go back to a week in the 90s. We talk about a movie and an album that were released roughly the same week. This is about, I think, maybe 10 days apart for these two. And so we're doing August 10th. What's the album, Eric?
Well, the album is Bellybutton.
Okay.
By the band Jellyfish.
Jellyfish.
Which, if you ask me, is not a good place to have a jellyfish.
In your belly button?
No. I mean, some of them sting, If it's a tiny stinging one
Wait.
in your belly button, you're going to get stuck.
Are you saying Sting is in the band Jellyfish?
No. Although, I mean, he probably would have been up for it. He did that Puff Daddy thing on the Grammys a few years later. So, I think he was still riding high. He had yet to walk in fields of gold. So I do not think he would have been on this album.
Okay.
Is that what you asked?
That's what I asked. If he was in the band.
No, he's not. The band were these guys that barely got along long enough to make 2 albums.
Well, yeah.
And then different artistic styles.
And in the second half of the podcast, we will talk about a movie, Whit Stillman's Metropolitan, which I always have to pause when I say that because I always want to say Metropolitan, but it's Metropolitan.
I always want to say Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman's Metropolis.
Definitely not Walt Whitman.
But just imagine if Walt Whitman had directed Metropolis. I mean, I don't know if he had any visual storytelling prowess at all. It probably would have been a mess.
The dialogue would have been incredible.
Yeah, that's true. He could have just written the screenplay for a silent movie. So this is a podcast where we go back to the 90s, not to silent movies hardly ever, because The Artist came out after the year 2000.
Or the 1890s, where we discuss Walt Whitman. Oh, I hope he was in the 1890s.
Walt Whitman was just a young boy reading sgoing fiction, prepping his storyboards for his ultimate science fiction movie masterpiece. So we go back to the 90s. We're going to talk about Jellyfish and Bellybutton, right?
Yep.
Some combination of those words, and then we're going to talk about Walt Whitman's Metropolis.
No, Whit Stillman's Metropolitan.
But that we're not going to do those things yet, Gary, because we need to get ourselves in the mood for 1990. Do you have any memories from August of 1990?
Me, no.
You've been 11, I think. 11 going on 12.
That's no 12 going on 13. I turned 13 in 1990. Okay. So
12 going on 13. Does that mean you were going into the 7th grade?
12 going into 13. That's probably correct. Yes.
Okay. So who was your favorite teacher in the 7th grade?
Well, as you know, I went to a Catholic grade school, so I didn't have a middle school, so I only had the one teacher still.
Oh, you didn't have like a gym teacher? Or
well, I guess we did. Yeah, no, we did have
a lunch lady.
Well, yeah. No, I don't remember any lunch ladies. I don't remember my 7th grade teacher though either.
Oh man, long COVID.
That's right. Very hard. That's right.
He doesn't remember his childhood.
I remember my 8th grade teacher, and I remember my 6th grade teacher. Oh, I guess that was my drunk year, 7th grade.
Oh yeah, it was just an entire bottle of Mad Dog before you went into school every day.
That's right.
But only for 7th grade, not for 8th.
That's right. That was when I was recovering.
Yeah.
I do remember all the apologies I had to make.
Do you know who was drunk every day of high school? Jeffrey Dahmer. just for your own interest. He was medicating something. There's a really interesting graphic novel written by a guy who went to high school with him. You could read about it.
Huh.
And he wrote and drew it. So it's like, anyway, it's interesting. No murders, because it's just high school Dahmer.
Let's see if I can't get this back on track.
It's just high school Dahmer.
High school Dahmer.
It almost
His boy Elroy.
No. This fall in the WB, High School Dahmer.
From the jerks who brought you Riverdale.
That's right. You loved Dawson's Creek? Wait till you watch High School Dahmer.
With a snappy theme song.
And then with the tagline, no murder.
Yet.
No murder, just Dahmer.
That's right.
You know what? Television shows, deals for television shows on Netflix and whatnot are coming up so easy. We might actually have just gotten a project approved.
No, I'm not a scab.
Oh, that's right. Pencils down. We're not in any kind of union, right, Gary?
No, that's right.
Union.
That's right.
Although I do have interesting to me, copyright questions about stuff like the movie Tusk, which was Kevin Smith's horror movie about a guy who wants to create a human walrus hybrid. And that movie came out of like them trying to come up with the weirdest idea for a movie on his podcast, I think. So like where's the authorship, So like right now we're writing a screenplay is what I'm saying.
But we're not. So
pencils down. Anyway,
I think we have something there with High School Dahmer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So just write it down on a postcard and mail it to yourself, but write down the date as before the strike started. Does that work, Gary?
Yeah, I think that works. They're none the wiser. It's the perfect crime.
None the wiser. That's what they call, like, whenever you have a Catholic school and she's the principal.
Wait, let me go get Paul's drum set.
That's right. You working on a tight 5? Is that what you're doing?
No, I just stole somebody else's joke.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on. Gary, we have a game that'll get us in the mood for 1990, more than your inability to recall a single detail.
Why was I the only one? Nobody else shared any 1990 stuff?
I feel like I've talked about my 7th grade year a lot. I mean, that was the beginning of the Iraq War, the first Operation Desert Storm. I had the trading cards. I had a crush on Jenny Adams. There were Umbros. I tight-rolled my jeans. I don't know. I had a computer class with Apple IIe's.
1990, Matt, you would have been in 8th grade or a freshman?
Yeah, No, that would have been 8th grade.
Okay.
Yeah. See, originally I was thinking it was 7th grade because I remember 7th grade is when I got contacts after having worn, thick glasses for 5 years.
And was it like the scene in all of the movies where the hot girl takes off her glasses and everybody's like, ooh la la?
Exactly. You're like the hot.
You're like, wow, Rachel Lee Cook, you really look nice underneath those glasses, which makes you repulsive.
Laney Boggs, get your cute butt down here.
Did you really have a noticeable impact socially when you started wearing contacts?
No.
Okay. So did you have any impact at all in your life?
I mean, I think I felt better about it.
You were more
felt a lot
confident?
comfortable wearing contacts. Yeah.
Were you in an all-boys school?
Grade school? No.
Yeah, no. Okay.
That was high school.
He did the reverse of
I
Gary.
was also in class with Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, that's why you're going to be a consultant on my new TV show, to be named later. What about you, Molly? Any memories from 1990, late summer, early school year?
Yeah, me and the entire preschool class got the chicken pox about that time.
So was that must have been like right before everybody would have gotten vaccinated for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also got the chicken pox, but like a decade earlier.
I had it in kindergarten.
I do remember it. It was unpleasant enough.
Did your parents have you get them on purpose?
I mean, I'm not sure. I definitely did have it the exact same time as my sister, though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sort of.
They were like, one kid has chicken pox. Everybody in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they understood vaccines, sort of. Just imagine if you could have that effect without getting sick.
Yeah.
Just imagine.
Witchcraft, I say. Wow. So do you remember the chicken pox?
I do. I remember the chicken pox and where I got them and being miserable for like 2 weeks. And then as soon as I was done with it, then all my siblings got them and it just took off for like the whole fall.
So you spread it to your sisters.
Yeah. I didn't spread it. I brought it for them.
You were patient zero?
I went out there and got it for the whole family.
Typhoid Mary.
Right.
Yeah.
Young high school Typhoid Mary. She's fun. Preschool Typhoid Mary is I guess like on PBS Kids, like at 10 a.m. if we're gonna pitch it for the right network,
Right after Sesame Street.
Yeah, Arthur clenching his fist.
You're just talking about memes now.
I'm talking about PBS Kids, my friend.
Okay.
Super Y. What are the other ones that are on there?
Word Girl.
Berenstain Bears.
Yeah. Okay.
Reading Rainbow.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a good classic. If we go back that far, we can go to Electric Company.
They brought Electric Company back.
Oh yeah.
What was Cosby's show back then? Was that Reading Rainbow?
No, Fat Albert.
He'll tell you all about it, Matt. But first, drink this.
There's always room for Jell-O.
That's right.
With Quaaludes in it.
Alleged.
By like 85 people.
I'm just trying to protect ourselves.
He's coming for us.
Cosby is coming for my so-called podcast. That would be something else.
You gotta make an example of him.
Yeah.
That's right.
He gets us confused with Mark Maron or something.
That's right.
He's not tech savvy, I guess, in this example. So anyway, transitioning from all of these wonderful memories, we're going to talk about 1990 in theme. Because we do have a Jellyfish album, which is San Francisco, and then we have Metropolitan, which is a Manhattan-based movie, almost exclusively, I guess, unless you count the final scenes. Spoiler alert.
Which I don't, for some reason. I just don't count the final scenes of movies.
I really think it ties the room together at the end of Metropolitan.
Yeah.
But, we'll get back to that. Gary, we're going to play the game called Total Recall, which doesn't have a theme song because you're a copyright loser.
That's right.
If it would, it'd be like dun 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 dun. Anyway, it's cool. The Total Recall music from the film, Paul Verhoeven's masterpiece. Gary doesn't want me to use because he thinks they're after us too. Karolko Pictures or whatever is definitely going to get us.
That's right.
Anyway, the game goes like this. We have a topic, and I will say something from the topic, and then Molly will say another thing from the topic and the thing I said, and then Matt, you'll say another thing from the topic and then the thing that Molly said and the thing I said, and then Gary will say the three things and the new one, and it'll keep going until somebody messes up, essentially. And the category this time is movies set in either San Francisco or Manhattan. And that's not as hard as it sounds.
Wait, like from any time period or from the 90s?
Any time period.
Any time period. The real game is not to think of them, but to totally recall them as we go around in a circle. Gary, do you want to go first and it'll go to me?
Okay, yeah, I will go first with the movie. I'm going to go with The French Connection. As a New York movie.
Yeah, Brooklyn.
Oh, but does that count, or did you say it had to be Manhattan?
I mean, I'm sure there's stuff in Manhattan in The French Connection.
Okay.
But it's famously those Brooklyn elevated trains, you know.
That's right.
Popeye Doyle is being a racist underneath. Do you know they cut out some stuff out of that for the Criterion Channel and people noticed? Because Popeye Doyle...
This is not how the game usually goes, Matt and Molly. You know, it's supposed to be, he's supposed to mention it and then...
Okay, so The French Connection, Basic Instinct. Okay, so Molly, you'd be next.
All right, The French Connection, Basic Instinct, and then Mrs. Doubtfire, set in San Francisco.
Excellent, yep.
Okay, The French Connection, Basic Instinct, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Inside Out. They move.
Okay, yep. French Connection. What was it? Oh man, Eric, hold on, I got it. It was Basic Instinct, Mrs. Doubtfire, Inside Out, and then back to the East Coast. I'm just gonna go with Manhattan. Woody Allen's Manhattan.
Is that movie where Kevin Kline comes out and he's the math teacher? Is that also called Inside Out?
No, that's just called
In and Out.
In and Out. That's right.
Yeah.
Like the burgers.
Just like that.
What was the last one you said, Gary?
The movie Manhattan by Woody Allen.
Oh, okay. So it'd be The French Connection, Basic Instinct, Mrs. Doubtfire, Inside Out, not In and Out, and Manhattan, and Vertigo.
San Francisco.
Which is why Basic Instinct is set in San Francisco, if you think about it. It's also a very Bernard Herrmann-esque.
All right. Molly, you got it.
All right. Basic Instincts, The French Connection, Mrs. Doubtfire, Inside Out, Manhattan. And I already forgot the last one.
Right.
Or two.
No, it starts with a V.
V.
You lost me already?
Oh.
I'm feeling dizzy.
I just don't have an attention span, I guess. I should have been taking notes.
You're out. So, Matt, can you do it?
Do I have to start over?
Yeah.
Okay. The French Connection, Basic Instinct, Mrs. Doubtfire, Inside Out, Manhattan, Vertigo, and For Love of the Game. The Kevin Costner.
Is that take place in...
Is he a giant? Or is he a Met? What is he?
I think he's a Yankee. He was definitely pitching in New York.
Okay.
So there's some Manhattan seats.
Okay. A classic Sam Raimi joint, For the Love of the Game.
That's right.
Which I've never seen. Kelly Preston, right?
Yeah.
Rest in power, Kelly Preston.
All right. French Connection, Basic Instinct, Mrs. Doubtfire, Inside Out, Manhattan, Vertigo, For Love of the Game, and then I'm going to do Escape from New York.
French Connection, Basic Instinct, Mrs. Doubtfire, Inside Out, Manhattan, Vertigo, For the Love of the Game, Escape from New York, The Warriors?
Yeah, okay. All right. I don't know if this game goes on too long, Eric.
Okay, if Matt can do it one more time, then we'll just give a point to you and me. Okay. Move on with the podcast.
Okay.
Matt, we're pulling for you.
Okay, French Connection, Basic Instinct, Mrs. Doubtfire, Inside Out, Manhattan, Vertigo, For Love of the Game, Escape from New York.
Yeah.
Oh, what was the last one?
That's the one that always gets you because Eric talks about it.
Oh, it's Eric's fault.
He gives me vertigo.
That's right.
Hello.
I don't remember, which doesn't like because I don't have a follow-up movie anyway. So
Okay.
Well, we'll figure out the points later. Moving on.
It was the Warriors. Warriors is what you missed, Matt.
Warriors.
You remember that, and I didn't. So we'll give you a point. We'll give you a point, Gary, since it landed on you, and I forgot what I said too. So it'll be 16 next time we play.
Sounds good.
I've never seen the Warriors. That movie I turn on late at night and try to watch, and I always fall asleep. But I don't know why. It's pretty violent, isn't it? Does it start off kind of boring?
I've not seen it either, so I can't comment on that. So.
Is that guy that made 48 Hours and all those other really rough and tumble movies right around the same time?
Also, don't know the answer to that question. You're asking a lot of tough questions here, Eric.
Okay, well, how about I'll stop asking questions and start giving you information. The kind of information that you're probably really interested in, Gary, right now is what were the top 10 singles August 10th. Like if you were driving around, like say, for example, you're driving to the movie theater to watch Metropolitan, for example. Probably the Tivoli, I would guess, if you're watching Metropolitan.
Yeah, if you're right. Okay.
Maybe the Shady Oak or something. I don't know.
Was Tivoli open back then, by the way?
Yeah.
You can still go there and catch a nice church service.
That's right. You can't get to go see a movie now.
Yeah.
Maybe the High Point was definitely still open. It was open in the 1990, and you can still see movies at the High Point.
Yep, there was a brief period where it was closed just recently. But anyway, so you're going to the High Point to watch Metropolitan. You're a big highfalutin snob. You're watching it by yourself, but you're like, hey, what's on the radio? And these 10 songs might be on the radio, Gary.
Am I a member of REM when I'm saying that?
Oh, you're a member of the UHB.
Okay.
Or UBS.
That's right. I'm an UB.
Number 10, 15. No. It was 15 the week before. Sorry. Now it's cracking the top 10. Belle Biv DeVoe with their hit song, Do Me! Exclamation point.
Remember when songs used to be subtle? I do.
And the chorus of that song, if I am recalling correctly, it's you can do me in the morning, you can do me at night, you can do me any way you want to do me, something about doing me. I can't recall.
A love ballad.
That's right.
Sweet.
Eric, are you still there?
Yes. I just got a work text that I'm going to ignore.
Okay.
So anyway, Do Me, Belle Biv DeVoe. It was a big hit. People like songs about sex. Number 9 was She Ain't Worth It by Glenn Medeiros and Bobby Brown. I don't know Glenn Medeiros. Do you know Bobby Brown? I don't know She Ain't Worth It. Gary, you know She Ain't Worth It?
I'm not familiar with that song. I was too busy listening to Do Me.
Yeah, and if you were listening to a song called Do Me, you might have sympathized with the singers of number 8, Go West. They were also the kings of wishful thinking.
I'm glad you found yourself amusing. Because we did not follow that at all.
You were using some wishful thinking to think that anyone would do you when you were 12 or whatever, is all I'm saying.
Oh, ouch. I guess that was a bad burn. Good job.
It was an incomprehensible burn. My favorite kind. Number 6, Come Back to Me by Janet Jackson. I got on that. Yeah. Number 5, If Wishes Came True by Sweet Sensation. That sounds like a one-hit wonder. Am I wrong?
I don't even know if it was a one-hit wonder.
You don't even know if this was a hit.
That's right.
5,
I mean, have you guys ever had a number 5 song?
No, the highest I got was number 6.
They had other songs that were more popular than If Wishes Came True. This is like their number 3. It goes like this. Wait, whatever. Come on, get to the part of the melody. Yeah, that's awful. I can't. Number 4, Cradle of Love.
Oh, by Billy Idol?
William Idol. And number 3, Rub You the Right Way by, does anybody remember?
No.
Rub You the Right Way by Johnny Gill. Johnny Gill, I think, was in New Edition with Bobby Brown, if I'm not mistaken.
The famous artist who was also a fish, Johnny Gill.
Right?
He's a fish.
He was the inspiration for the screenplay for the movie Waterworld, because he has skill.
Oh, that's right.
Number 2, The Power by Snap. I've got the power!
It's getting kind of hectic.
That song still kind of is good, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a banger.
Yeah, it's fun. That's good. Some of these hold the test of time. Not that Sweet Sensation though. But I think that Snap song will probably be used as a needle drop in movies like forever. Oh, and they also have Rhythm as a Dancer. I like that band. Do you want to know what number 1 was?
Yes.
Vision of Love by Mariah Carey, which does not sound like this. I prefer Snap to Mariah Carey. You have to say, hip-hop became mainstream real fast. Like, it's already this overwarmed mainstream rap, and that's interesting.
Well, I mean, so we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, so that means it was around for 20, or I guess 15 years in 1990.
Yeah,
so,
which is kind of fast.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, for Snap to have that number 2 song, I don't know, which is like, I don't know. I guess Vanilla Ice was happening around the same time, right?
That's right.
One time.
I mean, he never stopped right?
He's still going.
He had the one song, Ice Ice Baby, which is about him being awesome. And then he's got the Turtle one, which is about the turtles being awesome.
And then I think he had a full season of his house flipping TV show 20 years later. So, I mean, he's out there. He's doing things.
Right. Yeah, I think he's available for kids' parties and whatnot.
So available.
Oh.
All right, so
Ninja Rap, baby.
That's right. And then Turtles are big right now, too, with their big hit movie. Okay, let's get talking about, we're going to transition to talking about Bellybutton by Jellyfish, because those are the songs. See, so the makers, or the members of Jellyfish are like, oh, okay, those are what songs are on the radio. Let's release an album that can compete with those songs. We're going to do that.
How did they do?
So, yeah, they didn't do very well. So, I don't know. I will ask Matt, Molly, you guys can kind of, I'm asking this question to you to get the conversation about Jellyfish started. Either the album Bellybutton should have been a huge hit because all the songs are stone cold classics, or, history was right to have it kind of die where it was, and it was appropriate. What do you think of Jellyfish?
Those are really diametrically opposed either ors. You really have to choose there.
That's right. I don't want one of these, little column A, little column B kind of thing.
Yeah.
So either this is one of the best albums ever or pure trash.
I really liked the album. I thought they were a day late, probably, getting that out there with where music was.
So you think they were late and not ahead of the curve?
I feel like this album would have done a lot better 5 years earlier, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Like the style of music was kind of morphing into something else.
Well, yeah, we definitely had, listening to, they should have had a song called Do Me on Jellyfish.
Don't they? I feel like there was one called Do Me, no?
No.
Oh, weird.
Matt, what did you think of this album?
Well, first of all, so I'd never heard of it. I thought I was about to listen to Belly, which I also never listened to in the 90s. I didn't care for it.
No, oh, really?
No.
You know, this is.
I don't know. To be fair, like there was, what was it? Song number 6. She loves him, or he loves her, or something.
Yeah, track 5. She still loves him.
Still loves him.
Oh, yes. I like that song. So I don't know. Maybe repeat listening, it would grow on me.
So the singer, or the guitar player of the band.
Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, we could hear it.
Okay, that's the one?
Yes, that is the one.
So Jason Faulkner was in this band for this album, and, you know, he went on to record with Brendan Benson, and then he also plays with Beck these days. He's done a lot of stuff as a session musician. And then the piano player, he went on to be in Imperial Drag. Do you remember Imperial Drag? Their big hit was Boy or Girl, got played on the Point a little bit.
No.
No.
Did you know about Jellyfish at the time, Gary?
No, I didn't know about Jellyfish at the time, Eric. I was in 7th grade. How would I know Jellyfish?
So when did you first hear of Jellyfish?
He was drunk every day.
That's right.
He doesn't remember anything.
You don't follow the UK Top 250 playlist?
I came across.
You could have been a roadie for Jellyfish in the 7th grade and not remember it.
So like I said, Jason Faulkner played, and he was a member of the Well-Fed Boys. If you know, Brendan Benson's first album is Brendan Benson and the Well-Fed Boys, Mississippi. What's it called? Mississippi something.
One Mississippi.
Yep. And and then they also they collaborated on an album together called The Mood Elevator. Jason Faulkner is in that. And so just kind of following him took me back to Jellyfish. So this would have been in the early 2000s is when I discovered Jellyfish. And also, I remember Imperial Drag, that Boy or a Girl song. You guys gotta, I'm surprised you guys don't remember that.
Do you guys remember, so are you feeling like this Andy Sturmer is the real creative architect behind the album? Or... He wanted to do different stuff after the second album than Roger Manning did.
Right, and Roger Manning's the one who went on to be in Imperial Drag.
I see. Yeah. So a bunch of guys that wanted to be in their own bands, essentially.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think so. Andy and Roger came together and they made 2 albums together, but then they wanted to. So Jason Faulkner on the first album, he also wanted to write songs. He goes on and he writes songs with Brendan Benson and Mood Elevator and the Grays. He plays in the Grays with John Bryan. John Bryan, of course, is producer of Fiona Apple, and he's produced some Kanye West stuff. So, but he wasn't able to write anything, so that's why he left after the first album.
You know what my favorite John Bryan anything is the score to Lady Bird.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a really good score.
So
that movie gets better every time I watch it. Which is what we're hoping will happen when Matt listens to this Bellybutton album again, right? Because he thinks maybe. So, did you listen to it more than once?
No, I did only listen to it once. So yeah, it potentially could. I mean, yeah, I think in part it was just like shocked expectations of like this is not your typical 90s music. Even from the first song. So yeah.
Bellybutton was released to critical acclaim from contemporary music critics and peaked at number 124 on the U.S. charts.
I am surprised you didn't care for it, Matt, because it is kind of a jangly pop guitar, and then they have their harmonies and everything like that. So it is kind of, it's 90s rock harkening back to 60s rock, though. Right, what Molly says. If it was out 5 years earlier, it probably would have been much better received, but in 1990 I think people were like, we don't want to throw back to the 60s anymore, get out of here.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Or 5 years later, when Oasis was like, now's the time to, harken back to the 60s. And people were like, yes, we love Oasis.
However, if you listen to definitely maybe just one time, you would know whether or not you liked it. Because, like, every song has, like, 2 or 3 hooks in it. This album doesn't have very many hooks. Do you think? Am I wrong? Like, I like this album in theory.
I've had the line, I want to stay home, stuck in my head for a week.
That's right. There you go. Go on.
Matt, maybe we need to listen to it more.
Is that a royal we? Yeah.
I mean, yes, I guess. Whatever you want, buddy.
No, I'm definitely open to it because I think I spent most of the first several songs at least just being like, what is this that I'm listening to? You know, it didn't really fit with any. Well, it didn't fit in the '90s for me. I just had a hard time just, I guess, wrapping my head around it in general. So yeah, I think on second listen, I will listen to it again.
Yes, success in your face, Eric. Matt's gonna listen to it again.
Wait, that was my idea.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In my face. I found it to be enjoyable, Gary. I do feel like there was a little something missing, and I do feel like perhaps it would come by it. I did listen to it twice, and I do think I liked it better the second time. But I do feel like there is this experience you're talking about, Matt, of like not knowing exactly how to respond to it. Like, what am I listening to? I don't know. Like, I don't know how to sing along to it yet, I guess.
Well,
Molly does. So
I listened to it like 5 times. So I got overkilling it.
Oh, that's
well, we appreciate your dedication.
That's because you're a professional.
That's right.
Guest.
Unlike some jerks who only listen to it once and don't even.
We had guests that didn't listen to the album at all. Michelle Horowitz. We won't say who.
You didn't. Actually, I think I'd like to listen to their second album too, because that was in '93, right? I'm definitely interested in hearing how their sound evolved between the two. I mean, so what? I assume, Gary, you've listened to both of them. Like, so what do you think about their second album?
I prefer the first album still. I know they, Andy and Roger, I think, prefer the second album. They've called that their masterpiece, which John Bryan plays on the second album because, he wasn't a member of the band, but he played on it. And but I think I like the first album better.
I listened to their big hit from the second album, and it was Not For Me.
Oh, is that the Ghost at #1? Is that what you listened to, or what was the big hit?
Well, I'll tell you if you want to know. Oh, I don't know. On my phone, it doesn't tell me which ones are the big. Oh, here, hang on. New Mistake. New Mistake has 3.2 million listens on Spotify. The Ghost at #1 is the number 3 single from that second album, Spilt Milk.
Yeah.
There's a picture of this band that's like the image art for Spotify, and the lead singer's stupid ass shirt just gets on my nerves. I don't know why.
Hey, I got that same blouse.
Well, it probably looks wonderful on you. It's partially his face, too. He's like, come and enjoy the beautiful sounds of Jellyfish. I don't know. This picture's not doing them any favors, is all I'm saying.
Welcome to Jellyfish.
Welcome. Are you feeling welcomed by Jellyfish in his shirt?
Not anymore. I'm feeling repelled a bit.
They did, yeah. So they did have like an aesthetic that they would wear. They definitely had a style that they were wearing. Like people called it like even like Willy Wonka and stuff like that. And people were, and they would get accused of like being too much style, like playing that up to where it was kind of like they were like, oh, well, this is just us wanting to wear what we want to wear. This isn't like, I think, yeah, they got accused of it being like manufactured. Oh, they're just trying to wear the style. It's like, and I think the quote that I read from Jason Faulkner is like, I don't think any record label would tell us to wear what we're wearing in order to drum up publicity. This is us just wearing what we want to wear. Does this look like...
this is definitely a much better picture. I enjoy these outfits a lot. I could go for this.
And I think that's an example of the picture on this audio medium that Eric is showing, that the band is more appropriate of what they would do and what people were like.
It looks sort of like they were wearing the same outfits that Delight would wear as contemporaries, perhaps.
Delight, also throwing back. I guess they were throwing back to the 70s, really, the disco stuff.
Yeah, well, it sounded like late 70s, but their aesthetic was sort of late 60s, swinging London almost. I don't know. It was a mashup, all right? There was also rap in that song, but it had a hook. Should we rate the album, Gary?
Yeah, let's rate the album. So, Matt and Molly. Matt, Molly, you may not know, but we like to rate the artists. They put in this hard work, and we're gonna go ahead and say, well, you didn't do a very good job, or you did do a good job. It's a 4-star system, where 4 is good, 1 is bad. So, and you can do half stars. We can do half stars also.
Thanks, Gary.
Solid 2.
It's 2.25 stars.
Wait, can you do that? Can she do that?
I can do it.
Oh, yeah, we're going to allow it. Judges? Yes. Yep.
The podcast police are also on strike, so we can't enforce any of our laws. Gary, what would you give it?
I'm going to give it 3 stars. I enjoyed it, yeah. So I go back to it.
Matt, what did you say?
See, I wasn't going to go with 2, but you seem to like the album a lot more than I did, at least on my one listen. So maybe I'm 2. Oh, what the hell? I'll say 2. I appreciate that they were, true to their music, even if it didn't fit in with current trends and everything.
I just appreciate the fact that they weren't fighting on the middle of the music videos, since that seems to be what they were doing, writing all the songs.
That's right.
Were there music videos?
Yeah, I watched the album on YouTube, and there was probably 4 or 5 where it went away from the psychedelic band album cover into videos. They were definitely not 90s.
Were they really low budget, or?
Yeah, low budget and definitely all 80s vibes.
Well, really, some people will say that 1990 is just the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Those people don't understand how numbers work.
Yep, that's right.
So I guess I'll give it 2 stars as well, although I do agree it seems like maybe Molly wants to give it more than she gave it. I feel like, given that something stuck in her head. I mean, for me, if something stuck in my head, I'm going to say 3, but
I mean, it wasn't the most pleasant.
It was an offensive earworm.
A little bit.
Get out of there. All right, well, let's take a quick break, Gary, don't you think? We can do some mindfulness exercises, some deep breathing. I've got pumpkin spice Twinkies if anybody wants one.
Yes. That's a real thing?
Of course it is. They pumpkin spice everything. It's August. It's time to go.
It's August. It's 107 degrees. It's time for Halloween.
It's time for a Twinkie. If you didn't feel like crap already, we'll fix that.
Don't go outside in the middle of the sidewalk and eat one at noon.
It's an artist.
All right. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Tom is the only guy I've ever liked in my whole life. I'm not going to forget about him because of some apparent inconsistencies.
I've had a crush on Serena with some ups and downs for over 2 years.
Serena had an incredible number of boyfriends, at least 20.
Rick Monica and Serena Slocum still together. Well, one thing's for certain, she's lost her virginity by now.
How can you say that?
You're right. Maybe she wasn't a virgin. Is it true you're a baron? As a matter of fact, it is. I don't take that sort of thing seriously, though. Rick Von Slonaker is tall, rich, good-looking, stupid, dishonest, conceited. He is short, highly attracted to him.
I don't see how that can be bad.
I shouldn't have to go into all the sordid details. Well, could you go to a few sordid details? They're doomed. What are you talking about?
Downward social mobility?
They're bourgeois. Cha-cha-cha. Playing strip poker with an exhibitionist somehow takes the challenge away. And in love. I mean, for them, men are either dates, potential dates, or date substitutes. I find that dehumanizing. They're all so very metropolitan.
Welcome back to my so-called podcast. Some trailer voice guy came in at the end. He wasn't talking the whole trailer. It was actually some title cards, like a silent film. But then trailer voice came in at the end, and he had to say they're all so very metropolitan. Which is not part of the movie. I mean, I just want to say, trailer voice guy is really kind of hamming it up there. But anyway, welcome back to my so-called podcast. That's the movie we're going to talk about, Metropolitan, not Metropolis, right, Gary?
That's right. Every time I look at it, I have to take a moment, brace myself. Okay, Metropolitan, not Metropolitan. Yep.
And then you just read like 5 issues of Superman, and you're like, no!
Exactly. What is Metropolis? Is what I'm reading. Superman is like, that's right. I can't go back and forth. I can't code switch like that.
Can you imagine if Superman ran into these people partying on like December 26th?
What would that be like, Eric?
I mean, that's a Saturday Night Live sketch that really needs to happen, lampooning both the DC universe and Whit Stillman.
Yes.
Topical.
That's right. Okay. So before we get talking about Metropolitan, here are the movies that were all at the theater the same week that Metropolitan was released. Number 10 that week was DuckTales, the movie Treasure of the Lost Lamp. You guys all remember that one?
Classic.
Awesome.
Classic.
I mean, I love DuckTales, but for some reason I did not go to see that in the theater.
Yeah, because 7th grade, you're kind of like, you're kind of transitioning from being a kid to, you were like, maybe I'll just watch, number 9, Die Hard 2, Die Hard, or.
No, I would have been scared of that movie.
Yeah.
At that age, DuckTales would have been more my speed. I just didn't go to the movies. But Die Hard 2, pretty good. Why was it released in the summer and it's a Christmas movie again? So strange.
That's correct. Yeah, this is the 6th week that Die Hard was out, back in August of 1990.
Summer blockbuster.
That's right.
That's correct.
Number 8 that week was the spider movie Arachnophobia.
Steven Spielberg executive produced Joe Dante?
Maybe.
It seems right. It could be right. It's definitely an Amblin production.
Tis.
What else was out, Gary?
Number 7 that week was the Two Jakes Chinatown sequel.
It's a Chinatown so big it needed 2 Jakes. Are there 2 Jakes in it?
I have not watched the Two Jakes.
There are 2 Jacks. There's the Jack playing Jake and the Jack directing the movie, right?
It's the same Jack. I guess he's wearing 2 hats.
But Robert Towne also directed, but then he took over. How did that go?
I don't know.
What else is out at the movies, Gary?
It was Young Guns 2, which, yep. I remember that one. That one has burned a hole in, because I probably did see it back in 1990 in 7th grade, Young Guns 2. And there's the part where, is it Young Guns or Young Guns 2? Where the madam, she takes, she gets on the horse bareback, and you see her butt, and she's rides out of town where you see her naked butt. That's the one that, I always go back to.
So you have it burned in your memory because there's a butt in it.
That's right. Is
that correct?
That's exactly it.
Great.
Meanwhile, I'm thinking about the best $1.80 I ever spent.
Yeah. I think I remember that scene.
Is that Young Guns 2 as well?
I think it is. Yeah. Yep.
There's Emilio Estevez and John Bon Jovi and Richie Valens.
I don't think he's in the second
Lou
one.
Diamond Phillips.
Lou Diamond Phillips. Yeah.
Oh, maybe he is in the second one.
Charlie Sheen.
No, I think Charlie Sheen died in the first one.
Oh, okay. There's no ghosts in Young Guns 2.
No.
That'd be cool if it was like a ghost movie. Like if they were all Star Wars Force Spokes.
Eric, wait. You need to wait until we get to the number 2 film that week.
Oh, okay. The Phantom Menace.
It's Ghost.
Oh, there is a ghost in that movie. It's Patrick Swayze.
But before that, number 5 was Problem Child.
Ooh, and there's a ghost in that. It's John Ritter. Rest in power.
Yep. Number 4 is Presumed Innocent.
Oh, yeah. I like that movie. Karina Longworth really ripped it a new asshole on the latest erotic 90s. She didn't care for it, but I enjoy it.
I haven't seen it since probably 1991, and so
it's usually on one of the streamers, Netflix or Prime or something, for free. It's like a really high budget.
You have to pay for those streamers, Eric.
Yeah.
Number 3 that week was Air America.
So Air America is an interesting one because I was looking at it for this podcast.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Matt?
What happened to Ghost?
That was number 2. That's
number 3.
Air America's 3.
Okay.
Ghost is number 2. What was I listening to where somebody just said they enjoyed Mel Gibson, the man? They didn't know about him as a movie star, just his work as a person. I think that was the Flophouse. It was pretty funny.
Air America, a very despised movie by critics, really gave it a drubbing for being boring and insensitive and a little racist and historically inaccurate. But otherwise...
Good.
So I didn't want to pick that for the podcast, even though it has a young Mel Gibson and Robert Downey Jr., who, I mean, definitely look and act differently these days than they did in 1990. And I thought that might be kind of interesting, but I don't think that's the right vehicle for us to revisit those two.
Number 2 that week was Ghost.
Yeah, big hit movie. Big hit movie. Was on its way to being nominated for Best Picture.
That's right. Do you think years later, because I don't think they were together at this point, but Demi Moore kept telling Bruce Willis how, back in August 10th, 1990, Ghost was a higher film than Die Hard 2? I imagine that happened.
So they were together at that point. I read Demi Moore's memoir.
Oh, okay.
And they got together fairly young. He was still known for moonlighting when they got together. Had not made Die Hard yet, the first one. So it was really the early part of both of their careers that they were married.
Oh, so as they were married then, do you think she was like, sure, Die Hard had been out 6 weeks and Ghost had been out 5 weeks? Oh,
it is notable that they both had massively successful movies out the same year, like probably the number 1 and number 2 movie of the year, if not in the top 3 or 4, and they were married to each other. That is pretty wild.
Number 1 that week
she was basically kicking his ass at this point.
That's right. Number 1 that week was Flatliners. Today's a Good Day to Die. And then
Gary, have you ever seen Pop Star, the
yes,
Island movie? There's a Bill Hader plays a roadie that likes to flatline on the weekends.
Yeah.
They cut to him flatlining recreationally. That's his whole character.
Let me also go ahead and tell you that at number 18 this week is the movie we're discussing, Metropolitan, on 5 theaters.
How much money did it make at 5 theaters?
It made 90,000. Yeah, 90,000.
90,000. So that's half of its production budget. That it made back the first weekend. $210,000 to make Metropolitan. Gary, I've got a simple either or for you.
Not for me.
Matt and Molly, I have a simple either or for you. Whit Stillman wrote the screenplay for Metropolitan between 1984 and 1988 while running an illustration agency in New York, and financed it by selling his apartment for $50,000, as well as a few contributions from family members and friends. Including post-production, the total cost of making the film was $210,000, a true independent movie made on his own dime. Either he should have made this movie or he should have saved his money. That's your question. Either or.
I'll let you go.
I always feel that real estate is a better investment, especially in this case.
I mean, a New York apartment for $50,000. I wonder where it was.
Yeah, he doesn't have the resources that all of the Sally Fowler Rat Pack has either.
That's right.
I'm sensing, Molly, that you did not like this movie. Did you ever see it before?
I never saw it before. I never heard of it before.
They didn't show it at your preschool?
Well, I was complaining about it to my throngs of friends. They hadn't heard of it either. I didn't care for it. I didn't relate to it. And I just kept waiting for a plot line to start. And I felt like it was starting, and then the credits rolled. So I'm waiting for the sequel.
There's a sequel in spirit called Barcelona.
And the trilogy-defining movie, The Last Days of Disco.
That's right.
So I started this movie late at night, and I watched it by myself, and I found it to be dreamy and enjoyable because I felt that the characters said and did things that I was almost never expecting. Not that it made sense always what they were doing, because I'm not sure that everybody in this movie knows why they're doing what they're doing, but I found it to be pretty enjoyable to get to know these weirdos over the course of a brisk 90 minutes. They're definitely full of shit, but they're also like, what, 20?
I think they're even supposed to be, I think 19, 20. Yeah. I guess 20. Because it's the year between their freshman and sophomore year, I think, of college.
Yeah, so they think they know it all, but they have a sense that they do not.
Right. So, yeah, I will tell you that I had seen this before, probably in 97 or 98. I had watched this. And I don't remember really, just having I watched it. But rewatching it this time, I had a smile on my face the whole time because I think it is ridiculous. I think these characters are supposed to be ridiculous, and he doesn't read novels; he reads film and novel criticism. Because it's kind of like
that way you get to know the story and what somebody else thinks about it. It's a budgeting your time situation.
I think that's supposed to be ridiculous. It's like, and so all the dialogue is.
And to be honest, so there is one non-ridiculous person in this movie, and that's Audrey, right?
Right.
So she is the person who has her crap together enough to know that all of this is silly, the debutante balls and the Rat Pack and all of that. She's sort of just hanging out. Like at the end, he says, why'd you come here? And she said, to get a suntan. Like, I'm just hanging, it doesn't mean a lot, all of this stuff. But I feel like he says that about reading literary criticism, and she doesn't let him off the hook. She's like, what? I feel like that's what's refreshing about her, is because he tries to BS her and it doesn't work. She sort of just tolerates the other people. But I think this movie, if it does have a plot, it's the journey of him recognizing what he likes about her, and that being a real person, but they certainly don't talk about any of that.
Well, and I think it also does a good job of, as I was reading about it a little bit, it harkens back to the Jane Austen and Henry James novels of high society kind of, and there's little love triangle and everything like that. So he was able to kind of take that concept and put it into this 1990 movie. So about these.
He wanted it to be a period piece, but he didn't have the dough.
A 60s film.
Yeah, and so it's just sort of vaguely time neutral.
Yeah, it was weird to be okay, it's 1990, you're watching it, it's happening now. It just seemed like it should have been much older. It kind of showed like a Jane Austen novel on film. which is not how I like my Jane Austen.
You don't want you want them to be more breathtakingly ravishing each other or something?
Something it was just like, I don't believe in this way of life. It's so bad. And I was just like, it was almost like every character had like a little degree of Asperger's where like everything just kind of came out even and without much emotion or up and down. Even when he pulled out the gun at the end, it was like, welcome to a very boring gun show.
Right, I know. I didn't even know what was such a big deal at first because it was that tiny little derringer.
I was waiting for a little flame to come out of the end of it. Like,
right.
Or a flag to pop out.
Yeah. I mean, like, so have you guys ever met anybody that had like a debutante ball or a coming out party or anything like that?
I mean, only one person do I know that like she's like 80 years old that grew up in like high society like that. And even she's a lot cooler than everybody in that movie at 82.
They used to have debutante balls here in St. Louis area up until, I mean, they probably still do. Like there is a certain upper crust of like people that do this sort of a thing still. And I think Gary's right. I think that they are all kind of full of crap whenever they're buying into that. And then they're just like confused kids when they're not buying into it. So they sort of go back and forth, but they're obviously full of crap, especially what's his bucket, the one that just talks about his beliefs constantly.
Yeah, Charlie.
Yeah,
who's the one that names Charlie's the one that names the UAB or UHB, and it's
the pictures of these guys and IMDb are not helping me to identify the characters from the movie.
No.
That's him from he that actor. He went on to be in Pin 15. I don't know if any of you guys watched Pin 15. He's the dad of what's it? Yep, Penis on Hulu. It's a pretty funny show.
Thing about that show. What do you think? I think a bunch of kids who come from money get together and kind of realize that there's nothing to it. Is kind of the idea of this. Did you? I kind of responded to that scene where they met sort of themselves in the future. That businessman that was disappointed with his life at the bar, and he was talking about running into people that were actual successes and how upsetting it is, and he just tries to forget about it.
That's right.
It was pretty depressing, right?
That's right. I think, and that's funny though, because the kids are trying to argue we're doomed to failure, and he's like, "Well, no, we're not doomed to failure. We're just failures." And
there's a lot of failure.
It's like I'm not happy about what I do.
You're right, though. He does sort of behave as if he's single-mindedly Aspergery about that, though. He's like, but maybe there's something within your ubness that doomed you to failure. The uber haute bourgeoisie, is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so.
I felt like this was not an imitation, but I kept comparing it in my mind to Kicking and Screaming, which was so much far wittier, and I felt like I really like Kicking and Screaming, and this I just felt like was very pale in comparison. I also felt like when it early on it felt like this kind of reminds me of like several plays in high school that we'd read in English class, and like, okay, well, I mean, I could, obviously it's low budget and the focus is on the dialogue and the characters and the character building and that kind of stuff. So like, I could get behind that, but then it didn't really, I don't know, like there were glimpses of that here and there, but like overall, I didn't feel like it was very deep or impactful.
I mean, they're different kinds of movies. This is more of, I would say, akin to something like Dazed and Confused. It's like one party week, where a bunch of stuff happens. Whereas Kicking and Screaming is like more of the like really most important events of somebody's life in between all the bullshitting. Noah Baumbach went on to marry Greta Gerwig, who is in Whit Stillman's fourth movie, Damsels in Distress. So there's a connection there.
But I also want to say that I think that is, you both bring up 90s independent movies, and that's another reason why I think I had a smile on my face, is because they don't make movies like this anymore, and it goes back to these 90s, like Clerks, even though it maybe not the best, but it's just a talking movie, Metropolitan, Kicking and Screaming, just these talking movies that we don't see anymore.
Yeah, I mean, what would it be? A TV show or something? I don't know. Like,
I don't know if you
don't
make
get
these
a 90-minute movie like this. You're right. Very often, where it's just sort of. Yeah, I mean, I think what it is quite irritating to some people because it isn't a plot-driven movie. It's more of a what would it kind of be like to be at the party with these people? It's American Graffiti is a movie like that.
It's like, yeah, we're just gonna live in this world for 90 minutes. It's just a little slice of what this world's like.
Because even from the very first scene, it kind of just cuts right into the middle of a conversation. So it does, to your point.
And this Whit Stillman, his parents were divorced, and he went to Harvard, and he was living with his mom. He's the Tom character in this. So
he doesn't go easy on himself.
No, I don't know. His dad worked for Kennedy, I think, or maybe it was his grandpa. Somebody in his family worked for the Kennedy White House, even. So
that was pretty sad whenever he found out his dad moved to New Mexico and didn't even tell him. Ugh. And he still was sort of doing that stilted way of talking about it, though. He's hiding from his own emotions. I thought things were fine, but then he's gone. I feel like I must have done something wrong as a son. I must be it's all they're pretending to be grown-ups is what it kind of feels like, which can sort of seem like bad acting, which also occurs in this movie.
Well, right. The Tom character, he had a small part in Star Trek 2, and then he was done acting. The only one who really went on to have a career was Nick, who went on to be in Gilmore Girls and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. He's been in a lot of things, actually.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Nick. What about Chris?
Or is that Chris? Maybe he's the one.
It's Chris Eichmann is Nick. You're right.
That's right.
He's good, don't you think?
I did like his character. Yeah.
He's kind of sucks though too, but he's an interesting character. He kind of sucks in an interesting way. I love how you still don't know if that guy did anything to any girls or not. It's still an urban legend, even after they call him on it and catch him in a lie. It still lives on after that, but we don't know. And I think it just might be that guy is tall and handsome, and they're all jealous. But I don't know for sure.
Well, there was also a Baron.
Oh yeah,
he was
titled. That guy is on All My Children now.
Oh, so he went on to keep working. Well, that's good.
Okay, so I really kept thinking as we were watching that for our audio listeners that this is Terry Silver from Karate Kid 3.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Rick reminded me, obviously in part because of the black hair and ponytail, but he also had some similar, I guess, his head shape or something was reminiscent of it. So I just kept thinking of Terry Silver.
So you're thinking that this might be in the Karate Kid universe? Cobra Kai could cross over somehow. I mean, I think that character could go on to be a karate villain, given his behavior in this movie. It seems to fit.
He was in good shape, and the last scene shirtless and everything. So yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah, he was a thirst trap in that last scene for sure, right? Am I using that slang correctly, Gary?
Yes.
The rap with Stillman movies is they're too talky and they're kind of boring. I think that those two things are true, but I also really like this movie. I give it 3.5 stars. Gary, what would you say?
Let's go to Matt. What would you give this?
I was going to let them go last because they're the most important, but whatever.
I was going to go Matt, then me, then Molly.
Okay, because she's the most important. Okay, yeah. I'm glad we agree.
Let's just have the lady go dead last.
Yeah.
Can I get you guys a sandwich or something while you're doing this?
Saving the best for last.
Come on now.
Exactly. if we let you go first, we've been chauvinist for ladies first. All right, we can't win. Come on, guys. Us white men can't win.
Oh, wow.
We got it.
You somehow made it worse, Gary. Good job.
Yeah, I have a tendency to do that for some reason. I somehow seem to always make it worse.
No, see that after he was done talking, so oh yeah, Molly, what did you think?
Oh yeah, Molly's here.
I forgot to ask you.
Hold on, let me put the vacuum away.
Well, okay, so a couple other comments first before the rating. So I did think, harkening back to your comment about real estate investing, I thought like a $7 million worldwide gross was, a pretty good return on a $250 to $220K investment.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that, actually, if you're doing multiples of the production budget.
I don't know who was paying, how they got that. Anyway.
He was nominated. This was nominated for Best Original Screenplay also.
Oh, it was critically acclaimed. It was out for a long time in art houses. I mean, it appeals to snobby people. It's about snobby people, right? So there was that. It's also funny, and there was nothing else like it out at all. You mentioned Kicking and Screaming. I think that's later than this. I don't think there was quite a movie like... I do think it was influential in being a movie about talky people that are kind of funny, that are not awfully likable, that nothing much happens. There's quite a few movies like that maybe get better. I would say that the dialogue in this, paves the way for somebody like Tarantino and Wes Anderson's type movies.
The Brothers McMullen is also, so you also got some cheap knockoffs like Ed Burns, but yeah.
Hey. Ed Burns is fine.
Okay, so the other thing that drags this movie down for me is the god-awful music throughout the soundtrack. I just, it first started grating on me, and then I'm like, okay, I should really try to like this more because it is kind of jazzy or whatever, and it fits the theme, but I just couldn't get over it. By the end, it just felt like, just enough with the elevator music.
It needed more. It needed more Jellyfish.
There was a place for every song off that album.
Yeah.
I did look it up. There is an album too. There is a 38 minute long Metropolitan OST. So buy it while you still can.
I might hear that soundtrack again when I watch this movie again, maybe, which I probably will. But Gary, I've never seen Barcelona. I've never seen The Last Days of Disco. I haven't seen Damsels in Distress either.
Well, right. He took he made 3 movies in the 90s. Then he took over 10 years. Over 10 years off, 15 years off. So,
but I'm actually pretty anxious to watch them. We won't have you guys on for that, I guess. We'll have you on for a different movie. But even the similar a couple of the same actors are in Barcelona, right?
They just show up like as cameos. Like Audrey is Audrey, and I think so.
Oh, as because
it's it's all in the same universe as these 3 movies that Whit Stillman made in the 90s.
Rick is there with his shirt off.
Well, yes, of course.
So, really, he should mine this IP. There could be the Whit Stillman extended universe. Like, there could be Disney Plus TV shows and podcasts and comic books. Like, this is the way it goes these days.
Introducing Yawn Man. Sorry.
I think what's-his-name could get a podcast where he talks about how even if you think you believe in God, you don't. He was arguing with that girl. It's like, no, you don't. She's like,
well, I also want to go ahead and I also enjoyed because you bring that back up. I like the conversation where he's like, well, just because it doesn't exist doesn't mean it's a failure. He's like, well, just because you don't exist doesn't mean everybody's a failure.
I did like that. I think it was Audrey who said, doesn't she, like, everybody stops existing eventually?
No, that was between Tom and
Fournierism.
That's right. Yep.
See, so that was there were certain conversations like that where it's like, okay, there's some hope. Like I like that. That was a good conversation. That was a good piece of dialogue. But then it would go, a while more without any return to that quality level.
It's hard to focus on stuff like that when the man's not wearing the right kind of coat.
Yeah, I mean, they were really bothered by that. He's gonna freeze in that thing. I like where he's like, I just don't know where to buy it, and the other guy just starts listing stores.
That's right. That's good.
That's not really it.
He's like, I just don't have the time.
Oh yeah, I don't know, rich kids. I didn't hang out with rich kids, so I don't know. It seems like it would be awful.
This didn't make you feel like you missed out.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
Did you guys give it a star rating yet?
Matt did not yet. No.
One
star. I will give it back to 3.5 stars. I also like I said, I watched it back in '96 or '98. I remember enjoying it. It wasn't until like the very first scene is Audrey running in and saying that she looks horrible and everything like that. And I was like,
and her mom's helping her with the dress.
Yeah.
Right. And you never see her outside of the group of friends ever again.
Right. And so at first I was like, I thought I had watched this, maybe not. But then it was like, when we got back to it was like, oh, no, I had seen this. So that first scene's kind of like, oh, yeah, it just dropped out of the memory hole. But
I do think that if I knew what kind of movie I was getting myself into, I probably would have even liked it more. And I do think it probably has rewatchability once you know who everybody is. I think I would enjoy it again. But I'm in the 3.5 star crew.
Yeah.
Molly, would you like to join the cool kids of the 3.5 star crew?
I'll give it a 1.5.
Yeah, we talked her up. I think she was ready to give it a 1 star at the beginning, and we were able to be like, no, it's better.
Could have been 0.
That's right. Worse. That's right.
Well, sometimes we'll have guests on and they'll find their new favorite movie or album. And then there are other times, like this week, Matt, where you found Jellyfish and you stepped on them. And you found Metropolitan and you said, I'm moving to the country.
It's good to be poor.
But it's always enjoyable hanging out, even if we didn't enjoy watching or listening to the media. But we appreciate you guys being good sports and coming on. It was a good chat. Gary, do you have anything you wanted to say here at the end of time?
Bye.
Bye.